So we have two really exciting offerings brought to you by EnerSys into the broadband application. First of which is Cell HP Plus, and this battery is meant for broadband outside plant applications. And what this battery does is it prolongs service life into this particular environment by introducing a catalyst to the battery in each individual cell that will prolong that service life throughout the life of the battery as it's deployed. Secondly, we're also bringing the Cell Ft and Ftx, another broadband battery, this time for inside plants. And what this battery does is it offers you a complete solution of battery chemistries into this application by giving you long duration float service and also long duration float service and high temperature in those applications where you have, say, an HVAC unit that's not deployed, or you have extreme heat conditions which would normally significantly reduce the life of a lead acid battery. Cell HP Plus is different from Cell HP in the fact we introduce a catalyst to this technology. We utilize the same TPPL chemistry that we have with Cell HP, and by introducing this catalyst in each 2-volt cell on the 12-volt battery, you prolong the service life by increasing hydration internally and dramatically reducing water loss. What that does in a very harsh environment like outside plant, it provides better service life, it provides better runtime, and it provides better application for this particular environment. Cell Ft and Ftx introduced two new product families from EnerSys into the broadband inside plant application. Cell Ft utilizes TPPL, standing for thin plate pure lead technology, into this space, and what that TPPL technology does is it allows the customer to prolong their deployments of the battery by having longer service life, higher charge current acceptance, and that means reduced operating expenditures for the customer. Cell Ftx takes the TPPL technology I just mentioned with FT and introduces it into a high temperature environment by utilizing proprietary design on the FTX. When you use a battery traditionally in an elevated temperature, say 35 degrees Celsius, it dramatically reduces the overall life of the battery, almost in half. When you use FTX, you can preserve that life in that accelerated temperature environment by utilizing TPPL with our proprietary design for high temperature. Cell HP Plus is scheduled to come out later this year in Q4 of 2020. Cell Ft and Ftx are now available.
The Alpha XM 3.1 HP has a ton of cool new features coming out this year in Q4 of 2020, by the way. It starts with the strength that we've traditionally had, which is our innovative ferrotransformer design from the XM3. Additionally, we're pulling in the embedded Alpha Guard. Those two features add tons of additional battery runtime and life to the system. New for the 3.1 specifically are some features like the SFP port that allows connectivity to places that don't necessarily have RF connection in new fiber deep sort of networks. Also, the auto attenuation feature is huge to reduce truck rolls. It allows the transponder itself to adjust RF levels, RF receive levels to ensure connectivity to the network, and again, reduce those truck rolls for having to go out and try and troubleshoot offline devices. The way the power supply itself is architected, the communication allows us now to do things that allow it to have the functionality of an advanced power meter. It actually can take waveform captures of the input and output waveform and understand any anomalies that might be happening, which is huge for some of the new RFI, DAA sort of architectures that our customers are deploying. Then there's our Apps Plus platform that builds on our existing XM3 apps platform to grow additional value. We've taken a lot of the things that we gave, like battery runtime and battery health, and added some detail to it. We've also started working a lot more with some of our MSO partners to improve the data that we're able to give them. And it started to make this Apps Plus platform into something that's more of a living, breathing sort of active thing. We've been able to take questions from customers like, how can I tell if I've dropped an active in a plant, and then build it into our platform and release it into existing power supplies. And the reason we're going to be able to do this so much easier in the XM3.1 HP is the firmware upgrade process has been vastly improved with regard to speed, multiple times faster. And so now we'll be able to create, with customer feedback, new data, new applications that can be logged and processed, and then quickly push them out to power supplies that are already in the existing network without having to go and do a truck roll. And obviously, it's an XM3.1 power supply, so DOCSIS 3.1 communication backhaul, and all the value you get out of that is another huge piece of what we added to the power supply as well.
DOCSIS 3.1 is very familiar to cable operators, especially when it comes to speed. DOCSIS 3.1 enables up to 10 gigabits per second downstream and up to 1 gigabit per second upstream. This is made possible through some technologies that didn't exist in earlier versions of DOCSIS. Primarily, a wide spectrum modulation scheme known as orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, or OFDM, combined with higher orders of modulation up to 4096 QAM, and combined with a low density parity checking for error detection and correction, is what gives DOCSIS 3.1 its horsepower. There are some benefits to MSOs using a DOCSIS 3.1 enabled power supply. Certainly we don't need the speed that DOCSIS 3.1 is capable of providing, but there are some other benefits. One feature we've added in our DOCSIS 3.1 modem is an auto RF attenuator. What this does is it compensates for normal RF level breathing in the network by adjusting the input power to the modem. The result of this is that you'll have reduced service calls over time with the cable modem. Another benefit to a DOCSIS 3.1 modem and a power supply is that DOCSIS modems have built-in network diagnostic features known as proactive network maintenance, or P&M. These P&M features are built into every cable modem and gateway in every home across the world. Cable operators will use these features to monitor the health of their network and diagnose any problems that happen to come up. These same features are available in our XM3.1 power supply. What this does is it gives cable operators the ability to look at data from the cable modem in the home and to look at data from the cable modem in the power supply, and then compare those two data sets and triangulate in on any problems before they become service-affecting events. Cable operators are telling us that they only want to install DOCSIS 3.1 devices in their network going forward. This means that older DOCSIS devices are going to be eliminated over time. There's a reason for this technology shift. Older versions of DOCSIS use a technology called single-channel QAMs, or SC QAMs, for transmitting and receiving data. They do this over small 6 megahertz channels on the RF spectrum. DOCSIS 3.1 uses OFDM, or orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, to transmit and receive its data. Each of these two technologies requires its own portion of the RF spectrum. At some point, when cable operators have switched enough of their modems from legacy or older modems to DOCSIS 3.1, they're going to be able to decommission the single-channel QAM section of their spectrum and allocate that towards OFDM. There's going to be a huge efficiency gain as soon as that happens. So it makes a lot of sense to switch to a DOCSIS 3.1 enabled power supply now, so that later on, when cable operators are ready to shut off those older legacy DOCSIS channels, they have fewer older devices on their network that they need to worry about upgrading.
The introduction of the 4.6 kilowatt rectifier is the latest in the line of 3.6 and 4.0 rectifier modules. It has 15% more power capacity in the same footprint and is forward and backwards compatible in the 3.6 and 4 kilowatt shelves of previous. In addition to the increased power capacity, the 4.6 has shelf identification built into it. Shelf identification feature allows the customer to know the capacity and the power availability in the existing rectifier plants in the field. The 4.6 kilowatt test and evaluation modules are currently available today. Full system deployment modules will be available by the end of the year.
So to learn more about any of our products, please visit www.alpha.com/broadband and click on the email updates. And also make sure you follow us on LinkedIn.